Israeli commandos descended upon the ship in international water from a helicopter, as well as surrounded it by vessels from all sides. Tens of people, civilians, have been injured.
The possibility that the people who actually broke the ceasefire was not the Palestinians, not Hamas and Gaza.
The strip was once again pounded with no letter. The
38-year-old Arafat died while on duty. He was a volunteer ambulance driver. And in this war, he was also a victim of what Israel calls its targeted strikes.
The fact is that we have not kept up with the modern technology and with the means available to expand our outreach community. When they don't have an alternative source of information, they fall victim because they see the misreporting, the disinformation, the misinformation that is increasingly common in our own media and certainly media coming from abroad.
Israel misses constantly is the fight for public opinion, is the fight for the media.
Because we've been left behind, you have Al Jazeera and Algemenier and Al Hurriya and many others and tens of thousands of websites who are shaping public opinion. We see the impact.
It's true that in the matter of public relations, the Jewish people is not faring well. And surely not. Israel is not faring well.
Israel is being delegitimized, defamed.
When we look at the Arabs and we look at what Al Jazeera has done to the world of communications, Al Jazeera is tremendously effective in telling a certain story with a certain worldview to the world.
We have many challenges today that didn't exist in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Above all, the challenge of communication. Communication, hasbara. What is the challenge? The challenge that Israel's story is being told by other people. And Israel, in effect, is forced to become on the defensive. There's an Al Jazeera, there's Arab PR. Sometimes every tragedy or every controversy that happens in Israel with the Jewish people, someone else is telling the story. The Algemenier is here to be the ones that tell the story.
Israel is the only country in the world whose existence is questioned. How can it be that we, the Jewish people, are the only country whose existence the world's media questions? And for that reason, of course, we need a media voice of our own to say, hey, here's who we are, here's the truth, and here's the unfiltered, real truth of who we are. And somebody has to stand up there and say it. And a publication like the Algemenier Journal, who has such a rich history of the Jewish people, is a great candidate to do this.
A newspaper can be whatever we want it to be. It can be a carrier of whatever is false, and we have seen many newspapers who were there, not only Jewish. It can also be really a messenger of truth.
Do we allow the media, which has always been biased against Israel, to filter that information? Or do we be the ones to tell that story on their own?
The Jewish voice that reaches out to not only the past, but future generations.
We believe that in the written word. In our tradition, that's what matters, the written word. It's the same words that we said orally and written and printed. It's different, the reception is different, the attitude towards it is different.
A Jewish voice in the media is absolutely crucial, but not just a Jewish voice, a global Jewish voice, a powerful Jewish voice, a Jewish voice that reaches way beyond the community in the United States, around the world, and of course, in Israel.
A Jewish journalist writes, he or she should think, is it good for the Jewish people? Is it really Jewish, what I write, in the interest of whatever is Jewish, in Jewish history? And it can be done.
Well, I think there's a huge gap that the Algemenier can fill, especially in the younger cultures who are, nowadays at least getting their news from different types of sources. And I think the traditional sorts of magazines and the traditional media channels are shifting to these non-traditional methods, which creates this huge gap to fill for Jewish interest and Israeli interest, this particular category. And I think that being able to leverage those mediums effectively is of tremendous value for the Algemenier.
Many young people today really want to know the true story. They want to see it in a Jewish context. They don't want to have things forced down their throats, but they want to learn about our history and our culture. And the Algemenier by its long association and its predecessor publications, has a long and distinguished history in this regard.
The most impressive thing about what we've done so far is our rapid growth. We've been very, very blessed to work with an amazing team, a lot of young people and a lot of great experience put together. Really is a unbeatable combination that creates the winning component. What's unique about this is, number one, you can consolidate these voices and amplify the voices, but most importantly, this is proactive. It's not a defensive organization. We are on the offense over here. We are pushing forward information. We are writing stories. We are creating the headlines and the narrative that are necessary for people to understand the Jewish voice and to understand Israel's perspective in the arena of global opinion.
Well, obviously search is foundational out there, and leveraging SEO and SEO optimization is critical, while also leveraging social media and its impact and what it's been able to achieve either through Facebook or Twitter or whatnot. And I think there's definitely a huge gap there in communicating to people with Jewish interests and really, Israeli interests, using those mediums.
The voice of the Algemenier is a distinct one. It's not one that you can feel and aspire to recognize in the general media. And therefore, when the Algemenier put their website, I felt that it will be an opening to many people to hear a voice that they are not always familiar with. And this voice is very important.
When stories break from Israel, we should be able to immediately have a response. And again, not wait till somebody responds and we have to then catch up.
And whether it's breaking news or whether it's more think pieces, there's definitely an opportunity to capture the long tail search volume around Israel and around Jewish sort of interests.
Algemenier is now taken on a role far beyond a publication.
It is the fastest growing Jewish newspaper in the United States.
So we, the Algemenier, is a voice to help us find this communication tool and teach ourselves and teach everyone that we can meet, educate and inform people with the facts in a sensitive way, in a compassionate way, in a way that our children will be proud to continue that message and pass it on to their children.
The Israeli government and other pro-Israel forces need unfiltered voices to whom they can speak, need unfiltered access. And I think that if this news outlet does it right, it can really make a tremendous difference for the Jewish message.
And I see the future of this Algemenier as some sort of wide Huffington presence with many, many more contributors. If you have 100 contributors, I'd like to see in the next few years a few hundred more.
The group is diverse, it's a collective, it couples the young with the experienced. It's from all over the world, it's global. It's a voice of 150, which will grow to 500, to 1,000, to 3,000 and beyond. In order for us to reach our goals in terms of taking our voice to the next level, to reach the tipping point and to go global, we need your help. We need the participation of every single one of you, and we need the involvement of a community, of our community.
I wish you great success, and then that success is needed, surely, more than ever.